Terence Crawford, Errol Spence prove boxing's business model is completely broken. Alright, y'all, so we all know by now the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. undisputed super fight for all the marbles is not going to happen at this point. Both sides are blaming each other. Both fan bases are blaming the other fan base for why the fight is not happening. And at this point, I feel like the real question is, will the fight ever happen? Is this just a new wave of boxing and how fans have to get used to the business side of boxing working? It's no longer about what's best for the sport. It's now about what's best for the fighter. In most cases, it's about what's best for the promoters. But in this case, because Terence Crawford doesn't have a promoter, it's more about what's best for the fighter. Boxing kind of sucks at this point because I know we want fighters to be able to dictate their own careers and be able to make the amounts of money that they deserve for the type of punishment they're taking in the boxing ring. But when it comes to getting the best fights for the fans, the business model is broken because there's always something in the way. Either it's the promoter stopping the best fights from happening, either it's money stopping the best fights from happening. Now you have fighters stopping the best fights from happening because they feel like they're their own boss. They can dictate, whatever happens within their specific careers, and there's nothing that anybody else can do about it. Either you're going to be a fan of that boxer and how he does business, or you're just not going to be a fan. And I think eventually a lot of fighters are going to start going with that model of they don't need a promoter, I can promote myself. Even though it's kind of weird because you would think if anybody would have went solo, it would have been Errol Spence because he has the bigger fan base, so he doesn't have to do much to promote himself when it comes to putting on a fight. Like if Errol Spence was to fight David Anese, let's just say that, if he was taking the David Anese fight, it wouldn't have taken much for Errol Spence to sell that fight as an independent because his fan base is so much bigger than most other boxers. Or should I say most other black boxers. Let me put it that way because we do know Cardinal of the world is out there, there's some other big fighters, Manny Pacquiao comes with probably the biggest built-in fan base out of any boxer at this point. Floyd Mayweather has his collective of boxing fans. Everybody has their little group of fans. But when it comes to big groups of fans, you got Errol Spence. He has a good group of fans. You got Manny Pacquiao. Those are the names that have the biggest fan bases. Canelo Alvarez. But somehow we got Terence Crawford as the independent fighter putting on a trash fight and downing fans for not wanting to buy it or questioning his motives behind making the fight. And it's just crazy, man. The business of boxing is completely screwed up. The whole business model is screwed up because at this point there's nothing. It's like Teddy Atlas said. There's no one person governing the sport. There's no body governing the sport. So you got promoters taking advantage of fight fans and boxers. You got boxers now taking advantage of the fight fans by putting on trash fights. And it's at what point do the fans get to come first? It's crazy because without us, they don't make no money. They make no money without us supporting their product. I don't want to blame it on fans, but it's almost like it's fans' own fault. I mean, just look at the state of YouTube. Look at the state of YouTube boxing talk or boxing conversation or boxing communities. I'm not going to say no names, but we all know who I'm talking about. There's a certain boxing channel out there that will blatantly lie to your face. It was just blatant lies. Like everybody has debunked the lies and proven the truth. but people will still listen to it. And people will go tune in, hit the like button. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Because there's plenty of channels out there with horrible narratives and race baiting and all type of stuff. But I think the one thing that really pees me off when I watch or when I see some of these channels and the people that support them, these are boxing fans now I'm talking about, is the fact that, okay, it's one thing to have somebody lie to you and blatantly lie to you, and you hit the like button, you still subscribe, you listen for comedy reasons. But when you turn around and actually donate, and at the rates that some of these channels are getting donations thrown their way, I got a question, like, whether it is just our own fault, and do we deserve it? Because we're the ones supporting the garbage. We support the garbage, and we keep getting funneled more and more garbage. And then we complain about how bad the business of the sport is. Well, if the fans support garbage, and the promoters and the boxers and the bloggers, they all see that you support trash, and you don't really want a better product. You're not demanding a better product. You're not commanding a better product. Why would we give you a better product? And then you pay us on top of that for our crappy product. You're still giving us your money for our shiesty, crappy product. And as a boxing fan, man, it's almost like it's almost like you be ready to give up sometimes. Like, man, is this even worth it to entertain the sport? Or am I just basically wasting my time? And today's talk is more of a rant talk. Because the business of boxing is screwed up, and I don't think it's ever going to be fixed. And to be honest, I'm almost to the point where I feel like that the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight isn't even going to happen because of the business. If what's stopping Terence Crawford from taking another $10 million payday for another crappy fight, especially if people support it, so it just is what it is at this point, man. Y'all hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You're more than likely to get a response on the tube. Holler at me over there if you want a response. Since we are Manny.
It's your boy Keys, neighborhood employee. Niggas knew that I was coming with fire. Y'all ain't up to my pie and up under a car. Your head under a tie, it's the S and the I. Player, we supposed to win. I'm in the booth focusing with coke in hand. Dude hate it when they see the chief running in. Ass mouth hurting like his wisdom teeth coming in. Now that's a roundhouse kick. Come round your house, letting rounds out quick. From Newburgh to downtown, it's that Midwest to down south shit. Y'all ain't fucking with. She chillin', saying tryna put the veal on the mouth. What's good? She nothing, saying tryna show his niggas how to ride.